Welcome everybody back to Spin Rack, and today we're going to be talking about what is a BLERD.
See, he did it again.
A BLERD.
BLERD.
BLERD. What is
BLERD.
it? A verb? It's a noun? BLERD.
Nerd. Say nerd for me.
Nerd.
No, say it regularly.
Nerd. Nerd.
Okay, when you gather up a bunch of cattle, what are you trying to do?
Herd.
Why are you saying it like that?
Herd.
BLERD, herd, nerd.
Bird.
Okay, bird. Okay. What did you see? There's a bunch of...
Bird.
Okay, there we go. It's going to just sound like this. So keep going. Keep going.
These guys.
I tried.
So, look. So the question is...
Can we get to the hard RD? Like the hard... Can we get a hard RD out of you? Like a bird. Herd.
Herd.
It's getting closer.
Bird. BLERD. Am I not saying it right? BLERD?
You're saying it right, but there's a softness to it. I need it to be...
BLERD.
Oh, forget it. Okay, keep going. Let's keep going. We tried.
So the question
This is the problem with the whole concept of the word is that...
BLERD? What is a BLERD? So
There we go. We did it.
what is a BLERD?
Okay, keep going.
So Petey, we're going to delve into this a little bit more because it's a little controversial because you have different groups who are saying, what the hell is this, first of all?
Yes.
And number two, how do you define it? The definition seems to be getting a little bit more fluid. Initially, it was black nerd,
Yes.
right? But now
I believe that's what it was.
now there's anybody who is a urban sensibility, which includes LGBTQ, Z, or whatever. You know, M-I-P.
Crooked letter I.
So-
Humpback I. Sorry.
So it's quite there's a pretty big expansion of the word. But what is it, and does it matter? You know, if you're a nerd, you're a nerd. If you're not, you're not. I don't necessarily classify myself as that, but I don't know about you, P. So P, what do you think?
That's all right. This is the hard part. Is that I don't know. You see a lot. There's this thing where like the supermodels would come out and they'd be like, you know what? I'm actually a nerd. When they're going cross country, you know, I'm actually. And a lot of times that initially came from the fact that they like to read a lot of books, and they say, you know, I'm a bookworm.
Well read, but
yeah.
if you're reading sci-fi novels instead of classics, does that make you a nerd? You know, I don't
Or
know.
romance. I mean, the
If you're reading
girls,
romance.
like the thing is, like especially, I think BLERD became heavy with, in my opinion, came heavy with the female audience,
Oh yeah.
and that I don't know if that encompasses comic book characters. I think there's so many different areas of interest that sort of falls into the BLERD thing. I think I think Revenge of the Nerds, the movie, sort of said, hey, they're kind of all over the place, just kind of outsiders, sort of thing. Revenge of the Nerds kind of said that nerds are kind of the outsiders. They can be smart, but sometimes they could just be a person that doesn't necessarily connect with the popular crowd. That's something, because
So if you read comic book, that's considered art. I think there has to be a better description than that.
I don't think that. I'm not saying it's. I'm saying that that's what the Revenge of the Nerds gave us. They gave it a little more open than just being smart and that sort of thing. So I think that it's just a hard thing to sort of put and say, I want to put one word as that. And nerd is even harder to sort of, because in the black community, nerd was almost just a kid with glasses. Like that was the end of it, you know?
Wasn't a smart kid or a smart kid with glasses?
Not even just that.
Yeah.
It used to just be, like that's the thing. I think one of my cousins who I had literally ran into in the area I grew up in, she was there, and she had that description of my brother, like, 'cause he had glasses, and this, that, and the other, and you know, and at the same time, at that point, I had just lost my hair, and then she described me as Anthony Edwards from ER. So it was that simple, the descriptions that my younger cousin had. So I think that's why it's so hard to put in terms, because there wasn't really actually with comic book reading, there is a thing of, being, sometimes being smart could be, you know, you're trying to do this, you're trying to do that, you're trying to be white. There is that sort of thing that some people either get the thing slapped on them, or you can be a dumb kid and feel like, oh, I don't want to do the work anymore because I feel like I don't. It's a real weird sort of thing. But ultimately, I don't think that a lot of people that are reading comic books and or reading, you know, well-read, were putting themselves in that category. Usually, you were getting that moniker, someone was slapping it on you, and that's what, or nerd. Yeah, nerd. There was no BLERD when we were growing up. And at the same time, there was a lot of tough guys. People would steal comic books, you know. They would take comic books from people. So there was it's a different time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You see someone in a school park, and they'd have Wolverine alone. Like somebody, a cool guy out there reading like an X-Men comic book. So it's not the comic book culture. Like I think even, was it Big Daddy Kane said he used to get $1 a day to go to school and buy some lunch, and he'd spend half of it on comic books. You know, that used to be a pastime for kids, just going out buying comic books. The smaller fans would just toss them, and then the bigger fans would keep them, bagging them, and boarding them.
Right, but you know, I think I hear what you're saying, PD. But here, that you know, it's the problem with the definition also is that you know you assume what is first you have to define what is a nerd. You know, and like you're saying, back in the days, anybody who was stood up as being smart, anyone who was wearing, well, some people were saying wearing glasses, that made you automatically with a label.
That's the thing.
But
yes.
the problem is that you had people. The assumption was that the nerds were doing very well in school, and the assumption is that a lot like the tough guys weren't reading comics. But what is comics? Comics were entertainment.
Yes.
Right? And it's entertainment products. People who read this stuff didn't necessarily have to subscribe to any one of those. First of all, no one fit neatly into any of these particular roles. The nerd, the tough guy, you know. They were interested in the stories. They were interested in the characters. The characters somehow caught their minds. Yeah. And of course, you had adults who were saying, "Oh, this is just kids stuff. You know, it's not real stuff. It's like it's puff." And so, but somehow it got attached to the people who were nerdy because they were reading. And because they were reading, the assumption was they were learning. Which you can say in comics, I learned quite a bit about different stuff. But the fact of the matter is, I was reading junk. You know what I'm trying to say?
Well, no, the comics had that sort of label on them that since it was the 50s and the whole reaction against comics, I mean, it was for dumb kids. It wasn't juvenile fiction.
Right. So, but somehow it got put in that the guys who were doing sciences and math were also reading comics because this is their escape from what they were dealing with here. And
yeah, but that wasn't always the case either.
No, I know it wasn't always the case. But
I'm just saying, no, I'm not to disagree. I'm not to disagree, yeah.
They saw a lot of people doing that, so that's what the assumption was. These guys are reading. Because they're readers, they're smart. Because they're smart, you know, they're doing well. But we know for a fact it wasn't the case. There are a lot of readers who were not smart. A lot of guys who were tough guys who read it because they liked the characters. Hey, they love Wolverine. They love Puck. They love Colossus. They liked Captain America. They liked Black Panther. Because these were characters that they liked, that they aspired to. And right now in today's culture with the big, what do you call that, takeover by the MCU and DCEU, where you have characters that people grew up with and the stories that they like, this is the form of entertainment. You can clearly see one of the reasons why comics aren't the biggest form of entertainment as it is now is that there's other venues now. There's gaming. There's like art.
Well, that's the thing,
Minecraft,
and the gamers could be in the same categories. Gaming can be. Well, that's the thing. What we kind of got to, which we weren't planning on getting to, is that the nerd label is an insult, and that's the hardest thing for me when people from my job were connecting me with. Saying we're sort of comic book nerds, we like comic books and this, that, and the other. We follow this thing. It's like, I'm not really into like accepting the label. Like, I didn't know that anyone, you know. The thing is when you found like they have had friends that, you know, were also fans of John Byrne, and I didn't find out too many years later. You know, a friend from California, a friend Seth, he was saying he ran out of money going cross country, and then he's like, I got back, I got to sell some comic books, but I'll keep the John Byrne ones. And then
does every tape involve the John Byrne?
It does. But I think that aspect of accepting a label Whereas ultimately, when you're in college, you're not necessarily, I don't know. The hard part is that these days you can wear a comic book shirt and it'd be cool. And I can tell you,
Comic culture's caught on.
yeah, it didn't catch on when I was in college because I put on the most classic Wolverine shot that Jim Lee did. Jim Lee, Wolverine like this, Punisher shirt in his claws, Wolverine's face. And it was it was in college. It was almost like I was a leper. It was like I was like saying I had people approach me in college and people I was interested in. And I was just like, I'm not getting any walk through the campus play. It's one of the hardest periods. I'm like saying these are cool shirts. This is before X-Men #1. It's like no play. It's like this is like kryptonite. This is like sending people everywhere else. And I think but that's the thing. I used to wear, like, there was a point where black colleges were the thing, that people wear shirts of black colleges. I would wear, my mother got me these college of Zimbabwe, Oxford, all these other shirts. And those ones, I was still, people, I would get some play walking down the thing. Not saying, or someone would talk about the shirt or something like that. The comic book shirts was like nothing. It was a dry spell. And I was like, what has happened? What has happened on this earth? So that's what, it's one of those things. It's one of those things of accepting this part of it is kind of the hard thing, and it's also tough when it's gonna, a lot of girls, either whether it be romance novels, fantasy novels, or just reading in general, they take to it. They take to it very quickly, and you can find them reading something. So the aspect of saying, I was kind of a nerd, I'm doing this other stuff, and it's like, ultimately, I think the loner name has kind of been lost, and so let's put all these people together as, like cosplay, comics, books, sci-fi books, gaming, all this other stuff, because it seems to have all the other people, but then there's on the outskirts, there are people that are, that join in with that crowd. So
right, and I can see what you're saying there, but one of the things that I find out that's very interesting with this whole thing, like you said, you break it up, there's different genres of this whole BLERD. And the reason we keep coming back to BLERD, because probably we do have to make a distinction with black nerds in a way, because you have, particularly in the cosplay, there's been like a big pushback. Black cosplayers have always faced the fact that if they dress as a white person or a non-black character, people put back, oh, you can't be Little Bo Peep, or you can't be.
No, I think it's a back and forth between.
But it's in the back and forth.
Black people saying white people can't put on black outfits. Right. Why can the black characters? Well, we don't have enough.
And you do, but what I'm trying to say is, the point I'm trying to make is that the BLERDs have also come out there and saying, hey, we accept this whole culture, this whole comic book culture, this whole anime culture, this whole gamer culture, and this is part of us. And we have this distinct views and ideas of what we can and can't do.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I was just pointing out that portion about where they're saying some people have looked down on them and said, hey, you can't be this person. And I understand why you want to have you want to make a distinction, because it's such a big group and you don't just want to be subsumed by it. But, pardon me, the problem though is that you go to, not problem, the thing is you go to Comic-Cons. We've been to a lot of Comic-Cons, right? And you see a very diverse presence of people from all type of backgrounds. Mm-hmm. And I'm always impressed. Yeah. But it's not sometimes reflected in other places. And this could also be one of the reasons why in comics now you're seeing a push for a more diverse hero versus, I would say, different heroes of different colors and different backgrounds coming and being part of it. Let's not forget, just to throw in a little bit, that a lot of the creators of comics were, particularly the creator of Marvel, were Jewish. Mm-hmm. When that was a pretty, their culture wasn't always accepted within the overall other. and they were pushed and said, hey, because you read a lot, you wear glasses a lot, you're a typical nerd, and therefore you're doing that. But you can be smart. A lot of smart people, a lot of tough people, like guys that I've been around, tough guys, were huge comic fans. They may not have gone out and bought comics, but like PD said, they'll come and take yours.
Yeah, a lot of times growing up, especially with my friend Xavier, and he would ask me who could beat who, and we would go back and forth on that. And I would, at some point, he asked me so many times, I would say, they wouldn't fight. They wouldn't fight. They're friends. They're buddies. That sort of thing. That was my answer. So, but those, the thing was to bring in all comers. I used to come back to Brooklyn a lot, and I'd bring a host of comic books, which mostly only my friend Xavier would read. So,
and nobody would consider Xavier a nerd.
Well, he was also in the line of to be able to push boundaries, because he could say stuff. He could say certain things, but then he could walk out with a Bon Jovi shirt, and then someone could say, "Oh, well, you got that on," and he'd be like, "So what? Like, wouldn't matter." So it's like he could push those boundaries, whereas no, I mean, I was the same where I was, and when we were kids. I remember I gotten, because my big worry as a kid was being ranked on. So you see there's some pictures of me with a Lacoste shirt, you see me with some polo stuff, and I got, at some point my aunt took me shopping to a store, I'm not going to say, I'll reveal it at the end of this story here, and got me all this whole new clothes, and I liked the clothes and they were great. And since I was sort of not the biggest clothes guy, but I had some things, so they came up to me like, Petey, like, where's this clothes from? I'm not saying it. Y'all gonna rank on me, and I'm not letting it out. And they're like, no, what is it? What clothes is it? It's like I got it from the thing you see on TV all the time, The Gap. It's like, no, The Gap is cool. And I think Dennis, at some point, I had an Hawaii. That's the thing. Jay-Z is known as Hawaiian Sophie. That comes from the outfit. Because like kids in Brooklyn used to wear Hawaiian outfits, which would be like, not necessarily like the Hawaiian shirt, but you'd have a bigger shirt, like a big, this is really where the baggy thing starts. You'd have these bigger shirts with a design on it and shorts to match. And this was good when you go to Jamaican parties, because it's not, it wouldn't be like regular jeans and this, that. Everything is free flowing, so if you're dancing with a girl, stuff is revealed. No, but but it's like, and I had one of those outfits, and Dennis was like, "Oh, I knew you were gonna get one of those." So, but yeah, that's a part of the thing of being a kid, is like those sort of addictions of comic books, polo gear, and this, that, and the other. But
and then just getting together with people who have similar likes, because as a kid they always want to belong. Yeah. But I'm saying it's part of belonging. And so now one of the groups that people want to belong to is the BLERD, saying, hey, I'm proud to look at cartoons, I'm proud to look at comics and stuff like that. But I don't think nowadays, I don't think there's any negative connotation towards it. Right?
To comic books?
No, to being a fan of comic books and being a fan of this, of comic book culture and stuff like that.
I think
it's now accepted part. I don't think everybody necessarily follows it, but there's enough now that there's such a big enough group.
Let's be honest. Did you have, in your grade, do you have a nerdy guy in your grade that was
into comics?
No, just a nerdy looking guy, a black kid in there. And did he get any backlash or get attacked or beat up?
For watching comics and cartoons?
For being who he was.
For being
It's okay, because there was a couple in my grade that went through that.
Right, but the thing is, you just had to do is just step up.
And I'm saying, I don't know how people were looking at me at that time. So I'm saying, from your own view, I don't see myself as that, but I'm saying there are people that, intimidated me. I don't know what people looked at. I was closer to what would be a loner, like the way Peter Parker was. I don't know that people look.
Loner, more aloof was more the word.
Maybe that's possibly a better term, but I don't know how that looked to other people. So.
Again, aloof.
Okay, so that's what it was. He's described me how I was. I wouldn't know, so he would know, because I was around him. My brother would bring me around, and I was extremely quiet. And I would say there was no difference from that than me most of the time in class. So.
And for me, it was just I was a little pissed off sometimes. I had a chip on my shoulder. So, yeah. But why are we talking about ourselves? We're talking about a group and stuff like that.
Because we have to be honest of what there's
don't
an
have to be-
ownership of.
we don't have to be
It's like I'm
honest
saying.
about
I want to be honest about it because I'm saying there's an ownership of the word, the negative word, nerd, and saying this is our word. We're becoming
I think that. Then you
we're
might just-
becoming
then
blurs,
you might
and
just-
we're
it's the-
saying we
it's the
did.
same thing when people start with that crap about, oh, I'm proud to be a ninja. I'm like, yo, what? You know what I'm trying to say? And I don't
I'm
mean
saying
the word
this
ninja.
is what
I
it is
mean
because
the
I'm
other
saying that
connotation.
nerd. That's why when we talk to people saying we want to do a story where we're trying to find out about blurs, people kind of give us the because they're not ready to accept this word as something because they know the negative connotations of someone turning to you and saying, "Oh,
You're a nerd."
You're that sort of thing. There's such negative and saying we're taking the
I
word
see.
and we're making it ours and we're owning it. And there's so much of that. There's so much of that. Even the same aspect of like women being friends and calling themselves the B word. There's the aspect of people taking on words and saying this is our thing. I think there's a movie called
Press.
What? I don't know what that means, but I think that's the thing. I think.
Press.
Oh God! So I think that we have to say that there's a negative connotation, and this is what the hardest part and aspect of me as a person is saying we're going to accept this word. And even before it was blurred, saying I'm a comic book nerd, it's like, well, I just like comic books, and I don't really let people know. Like I'm now the comic book guy at the job. But I ultimately probably would have never said that unless like the other people at the job who were fans would say, oh, this movie's coming out, this superhero movie, because they knew that the comic book guys at my job knew how critical I was. So it's like, I don't just go there and I'm like, I treat them as tough as I would do all regular movies. So I don't go in and be like, yeah, all these are great. I'm just happy to see stuff. And I'm like,
are you trying to say something?
No, I'm not. As in what?
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying that I'm always as critical as you hear me hear about stuff.
I'm just saying that I'm not. I try to be critical, but I also understand what creators do. I know it's tough for creators to create things, and so I try to be sensitive to their.
Okay, Superman 3, right? You can't go in. I can look at Superman 3 and say I like the stuff with Lana Lang. The movie otherwise is trash.
Would you say you're a blurred? For going for liking, because people liking Superman.
How is that a blurred if you like Superman?
I'm just saying. Some people are like, oh, you like those superhero things?
I'd say we fans of comic books, we decided to hibernate. We decided to hibernate and hide, and just like you get the sign, it's like the Masons. Like if you have to say the key words, so if you say like you say you're into comic books, I need proof. If you say you're into it, you opened up the door. So I need to test you and find out if you actually read comic books, you're interested in it. And if you say, oh yeah, I had all the Noel #1s, oh okay, this guy doesn't know anything.
But there's several thousand comics that come out a year, PD.
You're right.
How in the world are you gonna possibly?
But I know a lot. I know a lot to do the tests. I know a lot to test you guys out. But no, I'm all for. I hope more people would read comic books because a lot of times you get people in cosplay, but they're more into the animation. They might be more. And then there's so many sci-fi novels that you could get into. That's the thing. I know you and Dennis were heavily into the sci-fi sort of novels. At the same time, my brother used to read comic books, and he went to more reading music biographies. So he would read a lot of those things like Prince, comedy biographies, that sort of thing. So
that's actually pretty cool. I've never heard of that one. That's a pretty cool thing.
So I mean, but the aspect of
Look, I think it's that
we've gone through it. We can't put our finger on what this word is.
It is true. We're all over the place.
What is this word? What is this word and the only thing I've come into, which I hadn't come into before, is capturing a word with a negative connotation and it now being a positive word. And you don't like me saying that because it's the closest to the word that starts with the letter N, right? I understand that. That goes to taking a negative and making it into a positive. But that ultimately happens in a lot of the slang of hot, or cool, those words being positive words, so as far as being your own persona, you know,
So
curse words being good positives, like the highest compliment that I've gotten when I was in school.
Not a high compliment.
The highest
No,
compliment
it's
I've gotten in
not.
school.
A curse word is not a compliment. Okay,
It
it's derogatory.
is.
No, it's not.
It might be, but I'm saying when I was in school, when I did my final project in school, and this girl, her name was Norma, she came up to me and she said, "Good-ish." I was like, I was in a good place.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I wasn't expecting that. That's a big compliment.
You need to go some other places. You need to get better compliments. Like, hey, you did a good job. Keep it up.
No, but it was something close to something that no, but also my the teacher who ran the program, she turned to me and said, "Sam, it's really good," and that felt really good too.
She didn't say that was PD. That was the ish.
No, you want me to say the real word?
No. Don't say that. I'm just trying to say, or B, please. That was off the track. No, look,
off the track.
Off the track.
It's off the meat rack. Well, I'm saying these sort of negative, and I don't want to switch it to.
I know we don't want to switch
that, but I want to say that one of the things that I think the apprehension for people that haven't necessarily claimed the word, even me included, would be that it has a negative connotation that we remember growing up with, and it would be owning something that, you know, most of the time people would probably have to fight about, you know.
I don't know.
If you said someone came up to you and said that when you were in high school, would you accept it, or would you be like, I got to stop
back
this
then I had a
up?
pretty big chip on my shoulder, so they used to fly off the handle, all kinds of stuff. Look, but now I'm calm, cool, and collected, and of course, drug free. You know, so
well, were you ever on drugs?
No, I wasn't.
So then I don't even know why you say
straight edge for life. Baby.
No, my brother was straight edge.
Straight edge for life.
And
straight edge
don't
for
even
life.
understand. I can't believe you know that he would go up to people in Jersey, straight edge hardcore.
Yeah,
those are
model citizen, baby, model citizen. They know
oh my gosh.
Yo, listen. So, I mean, it comes down to really what it is. It's basically what you want to define yourself. And I don't knock anybody for the self-definition. People are going to define some whatever they like, and they're going to group to whatever they like. And one thing we don't want to do is disparage people for what they want. But this has just been a very difficult word to try to get a hand on our concept around. Yes, we can understand what you with black, nerd. We can do that. We can understand sensibilities, but it doesn't really define us, and I don't think it does.
But that's what I'm saying. Why would
Afropunk?
Yeah.
What about
I'm saying, Afropunk's a good word, but I don't know if it relates to the comic book fan. It's most into the style.
It's kind of weird, yeah. But you know, I was at a con, and these guys were talking about this being like Afro future punk, whatever it is, and it dealt with art, and it dealt with a look of just taking everything in, and you know, so it's like, dude, people are coming out with all kinds of stuff, and you know, you're doing what you're trying to do, but we need to really get this definition down. A lot of people are rejecting it, and
I'm saying
a lot of people pushing back.
People of our age, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm way younger than you, bro.
Yeah, okay. So if that said, I'm saying running into friends that I work with at HBO, and finding out that we're comic book fans post us not working together, like when we used to hang out like all the time, or a friend Raheem, who, I saw him at the Newark Con, and I'd already known he had done a lot of hip-hop events videotaping, and I talked to him, and it was like, said he was been a fan, and we were, we chopped it up at the Black Freedom Society in New Jersey City University, never talked about comic books, and then another.
It's in the closet, baby. It's in the closet.
Everybody, that's the thing. That's what I want to bring up, especially for the older fan. And maybe it's the next generation that I'm not. It's a generational thing that have taken on the word, and so I want to just address some of those point of views, because I'm saying the guy who I'd been, and also in college with, we were kind of club head sort of things. And then we were at a Comic-Con, and he's like he's letting me know that he's into comic books, and then he's like, hey, John Byrne is here, and I was like saying, all right, that's the proof. I know now he's he's about it. And then he starts going over his key issues.
So someone has to just say John Byrne, and that means they're about it.
No, he also talked about, I'm saying that's a little selective. That's something that you either hate him, as he does, right?
I I hate nobody.
Okay, or you're like, you're a fan.
But why do we have to mention them all the time?
Okay, I'm gonna go play a clip from our past episodes, and it's a little more even more positive than me. I've let you guys have your thing where you said your thing about Superman 22, but at the same time,
okay, all right, you got me.
I haven't said that you've touched your shots in, but it's harder for me to understand because for my generation, it was more a negative that we sort of that you basically have to either accept or move past or fight.
Yeah.
Or someone would be like, oh, look at that guy, he's trying to be like this, he's trying to do that, let's blah, 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 or well, let's go get him.
And I get it. I just don't like the fact that they're creating this thing and trying to put you in a label, that's what you are. And I don't think that really fits me, and I don't feel like a lot
But I think the people that are accepting it just run around and realize, like, we're BLERD. So I think also a person who I think created on Twitter, BLERD dating, and talk about the different struggles of dating as a black nerd,
but
and it's like just owning the word. They own it, and she's like my age.
You're so narrow in your circuits. That's why it's hard. Probably you should broaden it.
No, it's not saying that you're only dating BLERDs. It's saying the experience of dating.
Okay.
And then the ups and downs.
All I gotta say is, give us a definition, baby. If we offended you, was not meant to, but give us a definition that actually fits.
That's an idea. We don't really get any reader response or viewer responses, but it would be fun.
Get reader response.
Not to really chop it up. We've had a couple on Thor versus Hulk.
We don't need to name them. I'm just
saying. And we also had the ones that people complain about us doing the Star Wars, the Darth Vader. They love him in that one. They love Mars in that one, but they say the bald guy, and it's like I haven't been called a bald guy that many times in my life. Well, no one would say it to my face. No, they might say it face. We're not a big deal.
He's a pretty tall guy. Watch out.
No, but anyway. All right. So,
if you like it, comment. Give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you. If not, guess what? If you're really a BLERD, we'll see your butt in New York Comic Con. Let's see you say something then.
Yes.
Spin a rack.
We're going to continue this there. Thank you. Bye.